Before we start, please take a moment to consider subscribing to this channel or even contributing a small amount, like $1 a month, to us on the Patreon page, and the link is below. Students demand administrators take action against conservative journalists. In campus news for Claremont, we discover once again that the social justice warriors do not approve of free speech. Link to the full article below in the description. In an open letter to outgoing Pomona College President David Oxtoby, a group of students from the Claremont College assail the president for affirming Pomona's commitment to free speech and demand that all 5 colleges take action against the conservative journalists on the staff of the Claremont Independent. The letter, written by 3 self-identified black students at Pomona College, is a response to an April 7 email from President Oxtoby in which he reiterated the college's commitment to the exercise of free speech and academic freedom. In the aftermath of protests that shut down a scheduled appearance by an invited speaker, scholar and Black Lives Matter critic Heather McDonald, on April 6th. Protest has a legitimate and celebrated place on college campuses, Oxtoby wrote. What we cannot support is the act of preventing others from engaging with an invited speaker. Our mission is founded upon the discovery of truth, the collaborative development of knowledge, and the betterment of society. And this is how free speech is supposed to work. If you only let people say what you agree with, then it isn't free speech. This is beyond amazing that the war against free speech and also freedom of the press in this case is coming not from sad old Luddites from the gated religious communities or from the far-right reactionaries, but from students on campus. In their open letter, the students sharply disagree. Free speech, a right many freedom movements have fought for, has recently become a tool appropriated by hegemonic institutions. It has not just empowered students from marginalized backgrounds to voice their qualms and criticize aspects of the institution, but it has given those who seek to perpetuate systems of domination a platform to project their bigotry, they write. Thus, if our mission is founded upon the discovery of truth, the students continue, citing Oxtoby's letter, how does free speech uphold that value? I can hardly believe that I just read that. I'll repeat it in case you were choking from shock and missed it. Thus, if our mission is founded upon the discovery of truth, how does free speech uphold that value? Now, in case you think these students misspoke or the article has some massive misprint, they go on to explain why truth is not only out of the question on a university, no less, but that truth is a myth and a white supremacist concept. Historically, white supremacy has venerated the idea of objectivity and wielded a dichotomy of subjectivity versus objectivity as a means of silencing oppressed peoples. They explain the idea that there is a single truth. The truth is a construct of the Euro-West that is deeply rooted in the Enlightenment, which was a movement that also described black and brown people as both subhuman and impervious to pain. This construction is a myth, and white supremacy, imperialism, colonialism, capitalism, and the United States of America are all of its progeny. The idea that truth is an entity for which we must search in matters that endanger our abilities to exist in open spaces is an attempt to silence oppressed peoples. What is difficult to comprehend is the total lack of any intelligent understanding of what the Enlightenment has brought to the Western world, North and South America and Europe. Sadly, the Enlightenment has not gained a foothold in parts of the world where Islam is the majority religion, the very place these safe space-seeking crybaby students would be least able to express who they are without being burned alive, beheaded, or thrown off a tall building. In reference to the protest of McDonald, the open letter explains that engaging with McDonald's speech would have amounted to a debate not on mere difference of opinion, but on the right of black people to exist. Heather McDonald is a fascist, a white supremacist, a war hawk, a transphobe, a queerphobe, a classicist, and ignorant of interlocking systems of domination that produce the lethal conditions under which oppressed people are forced to live. The letter claims, why are you, President Oxtoby, and other persons in positions of power at these institutions protecting a fascist and her hate speech and not students that are directly affected by her presence? I'm not terribly familiar with Heather McDonald, but here is a little background on her. Heather McDonald is the Thomas W. Smith Fellow at the Manhattan Institute and a contributing editor of City Journal. She is a recipient of the 2005 Bradley Prize. McDonald's work at City Journal has covered a range of topics including higher education, immigration, policing, homelessness and homeless advocacy, criminal justice reform, and race relations. Her writing has appeared in the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, The New Republic, and The New Criterion. McDonald's newest book, The War on Cops, warns that race-based attacks on the criminal justice system from the White House on down are eroding the authority of law and putting lives at risk. Their letter insists that Oxby apologize for his letter, issue a statement that counters it, and to punish the staff of the Claremont Independent because the letter writers disagree with their views. And I quote, "We demand that this institution and its constituents take legal action against members of the Claremont Independent involved with the editing and publication process as well as disciplinary action, such as expulsion on the grounds of endangering the well-being of others." It seems that the SJW crowd isn't just content with removing freedom of speech and press from free countries. Recently, a Huffington Post article, which thankfully has been removed from their website, goes a little further. They want to take the franchise away from white men because, you know, we created cancer and brain tumors or something. I found this. If I can, I'll put the link to the archived version of it below, but I'm going to read part of it. Some of the biggest blows to the progressive cause in the past year have often been due to votes of white men. If white men were not allowed to vote, it is unlikely that the United Kingdom would be leaving the European Union. It is unlikely that Donald Trump would now be the President of the United States. And it is unlikely that the Democratic Alliance would now be governing 4 of South Africa's biggest cities. If white men no longer had the vote, the progressive cause would be strengthened and it would not be necessary to deny white men indefinitely. The denial of the vote to white men for 20 years, just less than a generation, would go some way to seeing a decline in the influence of reactionary and neoliberal ideology in the world. The influence of reckless white males were one of the primary reasons that led to the Great Recession, which began in 2008. This would also strike a blow against toxic white masculinity, one that is long needed. At the same time, a denial of the franchise to white men could see a redistribution of global assets to their rightful owners. After all, white men have used the imposition of Western legal systems around the world to reinforce modern capitalism. A period of 20 years without white men in the world's parliaments and voting booths will allow legislation to be passed which could see the world's wealth far more equitably shared. The violence of white male wealth and income inequality will be a thing of the past. This redistribution of the world's wealth is long overdue. And I'll stop there and allow you to make yourself sick by reading the rest on your own. So, what would happen if these insane SJWs had their way? There would be truth squads rewarding children to rat on their parents for wrong think. White men would live in a system of apartheid. You know, separate and unequal. The terrible Enlightenment thinkers from the 18th century and before would be purged from our national discourse and schools, and in its place a system of rewarding people for doing nothing but feeling they deserve what everyone else has. Yes, equality of outcome for all. Those that strive to earn a living and scrimp and save plus play by the rules their whole life would be penalized. All of the things they worked for and earned would be given to those that deserve it more. Those who are not cis het white male scum who now deserve nothing other than to be treated as subhuman. This future social justice warrior utopia is starting to look like the world they are persistently whining about. And it's very possible that a world where everyone is equal is not what they want. Maybe the goal is to replace the white male patriarchy with a feminist social justice warrior, future shock police state that punishes whiteness and maleness as inherent flaws. The new mark of Cain. Please comment below with your feelings on this. Do you agree, disagree, something else? We move a little sideways, certainly not forwards, to renowned street artist and UArts alum Tatyana Fazlalizadeh. When Donald Trump was elected in November, she made her feelings public. She created the America is Black, a compilation of illustrations that she made prior to including one of her mother. The piece reads, "America is Black. It is native. It wears a hijab. It is a Spanish-speaking tongue. It is migrant. It is a woman. It is here. Has been here, and it's not going anywhere. And since we're on the subject of Black America, we have recently discovered, although I'm not in shock over this obvious outcome of the Black Lives Matter movement, they are now banning white supporters from attending some meetings. Asa Khalif, a leader of Black Lives Matter Pennsylvania, got an early morning phone call from his Polish grandmother in Massachusetts on Wednesday. The short and long of it is that his grandmother read about Black Lives Matter Philly was now banning white supporters from some meetings. The Philly.com article reports, BLM Philly isn't the least bit shy about its closed-door policy. Its Facebook page clearly states that the next meeting on April 15th will be a black-only space. I find this shocking and appalling, especially considering how many non-black faces I see participating in Black Lives Matter demonstrations, here and nationwide. As a person who grew up seeing images of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. protesting arm in arm with whites and others during the civil rights movement, the blacks-only policy feels wrong. It's exclusionary. The optics are bad. It feels as if African Americans are segregating and doing to whites what has historically been done to us. Besides, how can the BLM movement be expected to grow and catch on nationally if it limits itself? African Americans represent just 14% of the U.S. population and are virtually invisible in many parts of the country.
You know what America thrives off of? Capitalism. We use our motherfucking black and brown bodies to live and survive while white people own fucking properties after that. Yeah, there are poor white people, right? But black and brown people are affected by all of the shit around us. And capitalism is one of them. So you know what we need to do? We need to start giving fucking money. White people, give your fucking money, your fucking house, your fucking property. We need it fucking all. You need to reparate black and indigenous people right now. Pay the fuck up. Pay the fuck up. It ain't just your fucking time. It's your fucking money, and your fucking life is now devoted to social change, right?
Rather than working together as people who share this planet to overcome inequality, to strive to make the lives of everyone better, there are people who have descended into the bowels of identity politics, who want to shut people up, that want to make some people less equal than others and seek to exclude people not like them from any meaningful dialogue. As a race, human beings aren't perfect and never will be. We have progressed in the West to the most egalitarian system that has ever been witnessed on the planet. We can do better, much better, and there are those that do not want it to be better, but we outnumber them, as history has proven. I reach out to those that I criticize here and ask that you join us in building a better world, not creating a reverse system of supremacy that rewards cowardice and failure and excuse making. A place of learning and growth, not stifling safe spaces where we are taught to fear everything and everyone that disagrees with us. It's amazing that during the 8 years that Obama was president of the United States, the hysterical shrieks from the right about death panels and black helicopters landing on our roofs to take our guns away and being forced into Walmart FEMA camps. All this never came to pass. All our liberties and freedoms the evil black president never took away from us. You feminists and social justice warriors sound just like them. I ask you, as I asked the conservatives a few years ago, what laws or rights do you not have or are being taken away from you? Some laws are imperfect and should be improved, but who is being forced into death or slavery by the white male patriarchy? Start naming them. Just like the Alex Jones followers, your black helicopters will not land, and there is no truth to this perpetual oppression of which you speak. Thank you once again for taking the valuable time out of your busy day to watch this video. Please hit the like or subscribe button, and any help with our brand new Patreon page would be appreciated. Although YouTube is now allowing me to start earning a small fraction of what I was previously, this has become and probably always will be a labor of love. Bye now.